Captain Zixnax of the Galactic Confederation's elite starship Celestial Voyager prided himself on being unflappable. He'd seen it all in his centuries of space exploration, or so he thought, but today? Today was going to test every tentacle of his calm demeanor. "Captain, we've got a situation," his first officer Glublap burbled anxiously. The gelatinous alien's translucent body was pulsing an alarming shade of chartreuse. Zixnax's eye stalk swiveled toward the main view screen. "Oh, for the love of all that's gaseous," he muttered. "Is that what I think it is?" There, looming before them like the gaping maw of some cosmic monster, was a black hole. Its accretion disk spun hypnotically, a swirling vortex of doom that seemed to whisper, "Come closer, I dare you." Glublap's voice quivered. "It appears to be a Class 3 singularity, sir. Our long-range sensors must have malfunctioned. We're already caught in its gravitational pull." The bridge erupted into a cacophony of alien expletives, each species contributing their own unique flavor of panic to the mix. Zixnax's tentacles writhed in frustration. He'd specifically requested that the Confederation install better sensors after their last near miss with a sentient nebula, but newer, apparently, that was outside the budget. He made a mental note to file another strongly worded complaint, assuming they lived long enough for him to do so. All right, let's not lose our various appendages here," Zixnax said, trying to project an air of confidence he absolutely did not feel. "Helm, full reverse thrust. Comms, send out a distress signal. And somebody get me a caffeinated nutrient slurry, this is going to be a long shift." As the crew scrambled to obey, alarms blared and emergency lights bathed the bridge in an eerie red glow. The Celestial Voyager groaned and shuddered, its engines straining against the inexorable pull of the black hole. "It's no use, Captain." The helmsman, a spindly arachnid named Skitter, chittered. "We're barely maintaining our position, let alone making any progress." Zixnax's eye stalks drooped. This was it. After all his years of service, he was going up as cosmic spaghetti, stretched into subatomic oblivion by the forces of a black hole. What a way to go. He briefly wondered if his retirement package included resurrection benefits. Just then, a new alarm cut through the chaos. "Captain!" Glublap exclaimed, his gelatinous form now cycling through a dizzying array of colors. "We're picking up an incoming transmission." Zixnax perked up. Maybe it was the Confederation coming to save them with some experimental technology they'd been keeping under wraps. Or perhaps it was a benevolent energy being ready to pluck them from danger with godlike powers. "On screen," he ordered, allowing himself a glimmer of hope. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a human. Zixnax's tentacles went limp with disappointment. A Deathworlder. Just what they needed in this crisis. A fleshy bag of mostly water with more bravado than sense. The human grinned, revealing those unsettling bone protrusions they used for masticating food. She, at least, Zixnax was pretty sure it was a female of the species, had a mane of reddish fibers sprouting from her head and spots freckling her pale face. Her eyes glinted with an unnerving mixture of amusement and excitement. "Hey, folks. Looks like you could use a hand," the human said cheerfully. "I'm Captain Maggie O'Malley of the Earthship Shenanigans. Mind if we pop over and lend a tentacle, or whatever appendages you've got there?" Zixnax blinked his compound eyes in disbelief. Was this human actually offering to help? Didn't she realize they were all about to be crushed into quantum foam? "I appreciate the offer, Captain O'Malley," Zixnax said carefully, "but I'm afraid our situation is quite dire. We're caught in the gravitational pull of a Class 3 singularity. Unless you happen to have a pocket universe or a few thousand starlifters handy, I suggest you turn your ship around and save yourselves." The human's grin only widened. "Oh, is that all? Theft, we eat black holes for breakfast where I come from. Well, not literally, that would give you terrible indigestion, but trust me, we've got this covered." Before Zixnax could formulate a suitably sarcastic response, the view screen split to show an external view. A small ship, positively tiny compared to the Celestial Voyager, zipped into frame. It was a hodgepodge of metals and alloys, its hull covered in what looked suspiciously like graffiti. Zixnax could just make out the name painted on its side, Shenanigans. "All right, boys and girls and non-binary pals," Maggie's voice crackled over the comms. "Let's show these fine folks how we do things back on Earth. Hit it, meat try." The shenanigans suddenly accelerated, streaking toward the black hole like a cosmic missile. Sykes-Nax felt his 3 hearts skip a beat. Were these humans insane? They were going to get themselves killed. "Captain O'Malley," he shouted, "what in the name of the Galactic Corps do you think you're doing?" Maggie's laughter rang out, a sound of pure, unadulterated joy that seemed wildly inappropriate given their imminent doom. "We're going to surf this sucker, Cap. Just sit tight and enjoy the show." The alien crew watched in horrified fascination as the tiny human ship plunged toward the event horizon. Just when it seemed certain they'd crossed the point of no return, the shenanigans began to dance. There was no other word for it. The ship pirouetted and twirled, using the intense gravitational forces to slingshot itself around the black hole's perimeter. It traced impossible curves through space, each maneuver bringing it closer to the celestial Voyager. "Yeehaw!" Maggie whooped. "Mitri, you beautiful mad genius. I knew that sabbatical at the Large Hadron Collider would pay off." A gruff voice with a thick accent responded. "Is not so different from dodging potholes in Moscow, Captain. Just with more, how you say, existential terror." Sykes-Nax and his crew watched in slack-jawed amazement as the shenanigans completed its insane ballet. With a final flourish, it positioned itself between the celestial Voyager and the black hole. "All right, you big beautiful aliens," Maggie said, her face flushed with exhilaration. "We're going to tow you out to here. Might want to hold on to your butts or whatever the nearest equivalent is for your species." A shimmering tether of energy sprang from the shenanigans, latching onto the celestial Voyager. With a lurch that sent half the alien crew sprawling, both ships began to move. "Impossible," Glublap whispered, his gelatinous form quivering with a mixture of fear and awe. "The energy required to escape a black hole's gravity, well, it's incalculable." "Oh, it's calculable all right," Maggie's voice came through, slightly strained now. "Mitri did it on the back of a napkin over breakfast. Granted, it was a really big napkin, and he may have been slightly drunk on vodka and cosmic inspiration. But the math checks out." True to her word, the shenanigans was slowly but surely pulling them away from the black hole. Sykes-Nax watched in disbelief as the accretion disk grew smaller on their view screen. "How?" he began, then shook his head. "Never mind. I don't think I want to know." "Oh, where's your sense of scientific curiosity?" Maggie teased. "It's simple, really. We're using a combination of quantum entanglement, tachyon manipulation, and good old-fashioned human stubbornness. Oh, and a splash of synthesized exotic matter. Can't forget that it's the secret ingredient." As they finally broke free of the black hole's influence, a cheer went up from both ships. Sykes-Nax felt his tentacles relax for the first time in what felt like eons. "Captain O'Malley," he said, trying to keep his voice steady, we, the Galactic Confederation, owes you a debt of gratitude. Your actions today were nothing short of miraculous." Maggie waved a hand dismissively. It was nothing. Just another Tuesday for us." Although she paused, a mischievous glint in her eye. "If you really want to show your appreciation, I wouldn't say no to a few crates of that famous Sorblaxian ale I've heard so much about." Sykes-Nax found himself chuckling, despite the lingering terror of their near-death experience. "I think that can be arranged, Captain, perhaps over dinner. I have a feeling you have quite a few stories to tell." "Oh, you have no idea," Maggie said with a wink. "Wait till you hear about the time we used a pulsar as a galactic game of tetherball. But that's a tale for another day. For now, let's get you folks home safe and sound." As the shenanigans escorted the celestial Voyager back to Confederation space, Sykes-Nax couldn't help but marvel at the audacity, the sheer, breathtaking insanity of these humans. They'd stared into the abyss of a black hole, and instead of flinching had decided to treat it like some sort of cosmic amusement park ride. He made a mental note to update the Confederation's files on humans. Clearly they'd been underestimating these Deathworlders. Any species that could turn the most destructive force in the universe into an opportunity for fun was not to be trifled with. As Maggie's laughter echoed through the comms, mixed with the excited chatter of her crew planning their next impossible adventure, Sykes-Nax had a sudden chilling realization. The galaxy wasn't ready for humans. Not by a long shot. But maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what they needed. 3 months later. The bar on Starbase Omega-9 was buzzing with activity, a cacophony of alien languages, and the clink of glasses filled with drinks from 100 different worlds. In one corner, a group of Confederation officers huddled around a table, their voices hushed but excited. "I'm telling you, it's true," insisted a young Volcran ensign, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with emphasis. "I heard it straight from my cousin who works in the diplomatic corps. The humans are petitioning for membership in the Galactic Confederation." A collective gasp went up from the group, followed by a burst of incredulous chatter. "Impossible. Those madmen? But they're so primitive. Have you seen what they do for fun? It's terrifying." At that moment, the door to the bar slid open with a pneumatic hiss. The cacophony died down as all eyes turned to the newcomers. Captain Zixnax strode in, his tentacles neatly groomed and his uniform impeccable. But it wasn't the respected Confederation officer who drew everyone's attention. No, all gazes were fixed on the human woman sauntering in beside him. Her wild red hair barely contained by what appeared to be a hat made from the hide of some fearsome creature. "Who, boy? I am parched." Captain Maggie O'Malley announced to no one in particular. "Hey, barkeep. Got any of that Andromedian whiskey that technically violates the laws of thermodynamics? I'm in the mood for a drink that'll make my atoms do the cha-cha." The Grixian bartender, all 8 of his arms frozen in mid-polish, simply stared. Zixnax cleared his throat. "Perhaps something a bit less volatile, Maggie. We are here on official business, after all." Maggie rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "Fine, fine. How about a nice, boring glass of Centaurian wine? The kind that only makes you mildly telepathic instead of turning you inside out." As the bartender scurried to fulfill their orders, Zixnax and Maggie made their way to an empty table. The other patrons gave them a wide berth, a mixture of awe and terror on their alien faces. "So," Maggie said, propping her feet up on the table and ignoring Zixnax's disapproving look, "what's the word from the stuffed shirts up in Confederation HQ? They gonna let us crazy humans join their little cosmic club or what?" Zixnax sighed, his eye stalks drooping slightly. "It's complicated, Maggie. Your application has caused quite a stir. Half the council is in favor, citing your species' incredible problem-solving skills and unique perspective on the universe. The other half is terrified you'll accidentally blow up a solar system while trying to invent a new type of party popper." Maggie snorted. "That was one time, and we totally had it under control, mostly." "Yes, well," Zixnax continued, "the point is, there's a lot of debate. They fear you'll destabilize the delicate balance we've maintained for millennia." "Oh, come on," Maggie protested. "We're not that bad. Sure, we like to push the envelope a bit, but it's all in the name of progress. And fun. Mostly fun, but also progress." Just then, the commotion at the bar caught their attention. A group of Truzalian merchants, their crystalline bodies glittering under the low lights, were arguing loudly with the bartender. "And what do you mean you're out of Nebula Fizz?" one of them shouted, his facets flushing angrily. "That's the only thing that can get us even mildly intoxicated." The bartender, looking flustered, gestured helplessly. "I'm sorry, but there's been a galaxy-wide shortage ever since the Crab Nebula went supernova last month. The main ingredient is impossible to synthesize, and—" "Oh, for crying out loud," Maggie muttered. She stood up, cupping her hands around her mouth. "Hey, Sparkles. Yeah, you with the fancy light show. You want a real drink? I've got just the thing." Before Zixnax could stop her, Maggie had bounded over to the bar. From seemingly nowhere she produced a flask that glowed with an ominous, pulsating light. "This here's a little concoction we whipped up back on the Shenaniganins," she explained, grinning from ear to ear. "We call it Schrödinger's shot. It simultaneously exists and doesn't exist until you drink it. Side effects may include temporary phase shifting, spontaneous yodeling, and a sudden understanding of string theory. Who wants to give it a go?" The Truzalians looked at each other, a mixture of fear and curiosity in their crystalline eyes. Finally, one of them stepped forward. I'll try it," he said, his voice quavering slightly. Maggie's grin widened. "That's the spirit. Bottoms up. Big guy." As the brave or foolish Truzalian downed the shot, the entire bar held its breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like 1,000 wind chimes being hit by a supernova, the alien's crystalline body began to glow with every color imaginable, and a few that shouldn't exist in this dimension. "Great galaxies," the Trizalian exclaimed, his voice echoing as if from both everywhere and nowhere at once. "I can taste the cosmic background radiation. And is that the faint hint of cinnamon?" His companions watched in awe as he began to float a few inches off the ground, tiny galaxies swirling in his eyes. "The secrets of the universe," he shouted joyously. "They're all so clear now. Quick, someone get me a crayon and 11-dimensional graph paper." The bar erupted into chaos. Half the patrons were clamoring for a taste of Maggie's miraculous brew, while the other half were diving for cover, convinced they were about to witness the accidental waste heat death of the universe. Zixnax buried his eye stalks in his tentacles. "Maggie," he groaned, "what have you done?" The human captain just laughed, already pouring out more shots for the eager crowd. "Relax, big guy. This is what we humans call cultural exchange, or maybe it's causing an interstellar incident. I always get those two mixed up." Just then, the bar's holo screen flickered to life with an emergency broadcast. The stern face of Grand Counselor O. Vexignitia, leader of the Galactic Confederation, filled the screen. "Attention, citizens of the Confederation," her multi-toned voice resonated. "It has come to our attention that a human beverage of questionable origin is currently circulating on Starbase Omega-9. We advise all beings to refrain from." Her words were cut off as a Vulcan scientist, 3 of Maggie's shots in, accidentally phased through the holo projector. "I can see through time," he shouted gleefully, before hiccuping and turning briefly invisible. Vexalhir's eyes widened in shock. "Is that Captain O'Malley?" Again. Maggie waved cheerfully at the screen. "Heya, Vex. Long time no see. How's that stick up your—" Zixnax quickly slapped a tentacle over Maggie's mouth, offering a weak smile to the Grand Counselor. "My apologies, Your Excellency. We were just conducting an impromptu cultural exchange, furthering interspecies understanding and all that." Vexalhir's expression could have frozen a star. "Captain Zixnax, I might have known you'd be involved in this fantastic party." Maggie supplied helpfully, having wiggled free of Zixnax's tentacle. "Madness." Vexalhir thundered. "This is precisely why the Council is hesitant to admit humans into the Confederation. Your species is a chaos factor we simply cannot." Her tirade was interrupted by a series of urgent beeps. A new face appeared on the screen, a harried-looking quantumite, its probability clouds swirling in distress. "Grand Counselor," it buzzed anxiously. "We're detecting a massive gravitational anomaly heading straight for the Cygnus arm. Initial readings suggest it's a rogue black hole." The bar fell silent, all eyes turning from the screen to Maggie. The human captain had the decency to look slightly sheepish. "Whoops," she said, scratching the back of her head. "I may have forgotten to carry a 1 in that last quantum entanglement equation. My bad." Vexalhir looked like she was about to suffer an aneurysm in all 7 of her brains. You created a black hole? With a drink?" Maggie shrugged. "To be fair, it's a really good drink. But this is nothing. You should see what happens when we break out the karaoke machine. Now that's a real singularity." The Grand Counselor took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm herself. "Captain O'Malley, Captain Zixnax, you will report to Confederation headquarters immediately to assist with this crisis. And may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all." As the transmission cut out, the bar erupted into excited chatter. The patrons, many still glowing or partially out of phase with reality, seemed more thrilled than terrified at the prospect of an incoming black hole. Zixnax turned to Maggie, his tentacles twitching with a mixture of exasperation and, oddly enough, anticipation. "Well, Captain, it seems we have another impossible situation on our hands. Any ideas?" Maggie's eyes twinkled with that now familiar mix of madness and brilliance. "Oh, I've got ideas all right." "Tell me, Zix, my friend, have you ever wondered what would happen if you crossbred a black hole with a wormhole and taught the resulting space-time anomaly to do the Macarena?" The alien captain blinked all 4 of his eyes in rapid succession. "I can't say that I have." "Well then," Maggie exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "Looks like we're both in for a treat. Round up the crew of the shenanigans and grab that floating Trizalian. I have a feeling we're going to need someone who can taste quasars for this one." As they rushed out of the bar, leaving behind a whirlwind of confused and elated aliens, Zixnax couldn't help but smile. Yes, humans were insane. Yes, they treated the laws of physics less like immutable constants and more like polite suggestions. And yes, they seemed to attract chaos like a supermassive black hole attracts, well, everything. But as terrifying as it was, Zixnax had to admit life had become a whole lot more interesting since Maggie and her crew had slingshot their way into Confederation space. As they boarded the Shenanigans, its hull now covered in even more incomprehensible graffiti, was that an equation for turning dark matter into cotton candy. Zixnax heard Maggie humming a jaunty tune. "What's that song?" he asked, curiosity getting the better of him. Maggie grinned. "Oh, just a little Earth ditty. It goes something like this. We're off to wrangle black holes. Animal is sublime. Where physics breaks and chaos reigns. We're going to have a time. With quantum shots and human plots. We'll save the galaxy. For in this vast cosmos of ours, the craziest species is we." As the Shenanigans rocketed off towards almost certain doom or glory, or possibly both, Zixnax made a mental note. When the Council inevitably asked for his opinion on human membership in the Confederation, he'd vote yes. Not because humans were safe or predictable or even sane. No, he'd vote yes because in a universe full of wonders and terrors, sometimes you needed a species crazy enough to look at a black hole and say, "I bet I could surf that." And as Maggie's off-key singing filled the ship, mixed with the excited babble of her crew plotting impossible rescues, Zixnax realized something profound. The galaxy wasn't ready for humans. But maybe, just maybe, humans were exactly what the galaxy needed, even if it meant occasionally having to tango with a sentient space-time anomaly. After all, that's just another Tuesday for the crew of the Shenanigans. The adventure was only beginning, and somewhere in the depths of space, a black hole was about to learn the Macarena. The universe would never be the same again, and Zixnax wouldn't have it any other way.